guys, Melissa Dunn here, and we are still in our lender series. We're on video number 2. I'm here with Brandon Hearn, one of our preferred lenders. I am, of course, Melissa Dunn with the Melissa Dunn Realty team. And today's topic, we're going to talk about frequently asked questions that lenders get. So hopefully this brings some clarity to you on working with a lender. So Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great.
All right.
So let's jump into our questions. So number 1, how do I know which loan program is right for me?
Okay, I get this question all the time. You get this answered in the loan consultation. All right. So again, schedule time with your lender. Schedule an hour during business hours to go through the stuff with your lender. It's super important. If you're not locked down, do it face to face, even more valuable. How you know if it's the right program? You understand it, and you're comfortable with it, and you know the pros and cons. That's it, in my opinion. A lot of people kind of get wrapped around the axle. Maybe they're trying to chase one thing and they want to have, they kind of want to have it all, or they want to have their cake and eat it too. The most important thing is, again, there's dozens of different types of loans, is that you understand, hey, I'm putting 15% down. This is the interest rate I get, and the reason it is because of my credit score is X, and I'm going to have mortgage insurance of $30 a month for the next 3 years. Sometime around year 2, I want to start looking at the value of my house so I can ask to get it removed early, right? So some of those things that you need to be able to communicate, and if you understand it, I think that's when you know it's the right loan for you.
Very good answer. Yeah, I love that whenever you do a consult that it is a really education-based conversation that you're having with them. It's not just you looking at what they have and telling them what they should take. It's more you looking at what their circumstances are and giving them options and information so that they can make the right choice for them. I do like that you do that.
And you know why? I'm going to sidetrack real quick. I tell people this all the time is because every additional month that you do not own a house, that waiting cost, that opportunity cost is huge. So let's say your rent's $2,000 a month, where you're renting a house and in a lot of areas, you're looking at $18,000 to $2,000 a month. That's $2,000 a month of opportunity cost that you're losing. You're never going to get it back. So if you have the ability to get in a house, even if it's not your dream house, if it's just a starter house, that's $2,000 a month now that you're building in equity, or that you're writing off on your tax return because mortgage interest is currently tax deductible, that you're benefiting, your family's benefiting. So real estate is still the number one way that most families build wealth in this country. There's a reason for that. So the sooner you can get into a house, even if you have to take a first-time home buyer loan with a low down payment and higher mortgage insurance, that's totally fine, because it's going to put you and your family in a better position than renting for another 2 years.
Right. And once you watch, that's how we got into our first home. And we bought our first home. I think my husband was 22 and I was 19. Like, we were babies. We were really babies. But from then until now, like, that home has grown. And given we're in North Texas, so we've had some insane property values, but our home has grown over $100,000. And there's no way between that period that you know what I mean? I would have thrown that money away in rent, and I've actually built something here so that I can also leverage later on. So different conversation for a different video, but yeah, definitely. I get the opportunity cost. Question number 2, should I wait until I have 20% down to buy?
No. Again, that is the gold standard, right? If you have the ability to put 20% out, you're in a phenomenal spot. Most people, myself included, when we bought our first home, we did a first-time home buyer FHA loan and put down 3.5%. And we had to scrape every penny we could for that down payment. 5 years later, we have a lot of equity in the house because we were fortunate to live in a wonderful area. And now when we sell that house, we have 20% to roll and put down in the next one. So kind of to circle back to my original conversation about opportunity cost, when you look at, I tell first-time home buyers all the time, don't get too wrapped around the axle on HGTV home purchasing, right? The starter house is super valuable because if you can buy a starter house that's reasonable, that you can move into, that over the next 1 or 2 years, you can replace the flooring or upgrade the carpet or paint the walls, weekend projects that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised 5 years from now, that's $50,000 that you
Mm-hmm.
have in equity, that now you can sell that house and now you can do a brand new build, or you can put a huge pool in. There's all these options open up to you.
Yeah.
You're never going to get any of those options if you waited 5 years to save 20%. You're not going to have them, because now that same house is going to be 50,000 more. It's a moving target.
Yep. Very true. Okay, so number 3, and I think this is a really big one for especially buyers in my generation and the generation below me. Will my student loans stop me from buying? And what exactly is DTI?
Okay. DTI is one of the many acronyms that we use that is super misleading. Okay. Long story short, DTI is debt to income. We take all of your debt, we add it up, we divide it by your income, and not the income that you take on your paycheck, your gross income, the income that you receive before taxes are taken out. And we come up with a number. And I'm not going to give you a number because every loan has a different number, but let's just say hypothetically, the number is 45%. They say that of your income, 45% can go to your debt. And that's kind of the ratio we use. So if that debt to income limit is $2,000 and you have $1,000 a month of car payments, credit card payments, and student loan debt, then that means that you only have $1,000 a month of house payment you can afford. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's what debt to income is, and how student loans affect that. Student loans are hard for a lot of people, right? Student loans is just something we got to live with in today's world. Student loans are factored into debt to income. And all I can say about student loans are do not get into a variable rate student loan program. If you have the ability to take a lot of your student loans and consolidate them into 1 or 2 products, you're going to be in a lot better position. So I've seen people with maybe 25 or 30 smaller loans, and that monthly payment is 3 or 4 times as much as if they wrapped all of them into 1 or 2 products. So student loan debt consolidation is a real good tool for a lot of people. They may ask about variable rate or income-based repayment options. I would avoid that. I would avoid that completely. That makes it really hard for the lender to determine what your actual debt to income is. So the loan becomes very challenging to do. Okay. So you want a fixed payment.
Awesome. Good nugget. Okay, so question number 4, what first-time home buyer programs do you offer?
Okay. So most first-time home buyers, again, myself included, down payment was really the hardest thing we had to deal with. Mm-hmm. The second biggest problem is lack of established credit. Now, if you fall in the bucket of, hey, you know what, I'm not really sure if my credit's there, the sooner you talk to a lender, the better. Because what a good lender is going to do, a professional and polite lender, they're going to look at your credit report, they're going to pull your credit, they're going to look at it, and they're going to say, Melissa, this is where you're at. If you do these things in the next 6 months, your credit score is going to be in a much better position to allow you to buy a house. They're going to give you a roadmap to home ownership. So if your concern is credit, talk to a lender sooner than later. For most people, it's down payment. So there are lots of different types of loans out there. All the way down to 0%. There's 0% loans for veterans and for those individuals who kind of like to live out in the country in rural areas. There's 3% down loan options that are income and property specific. So some properties they work for and others they don't. Some incomes they work for and others they don't. And then the most common first-time home buyer program is a 3.5% FHA loan. That's a government insured loan. The HUD insures that. It's the most common because the interest rate is subsidized. You got mortgage insurance that a lot of times is less than conventional mortgage insurance if the credit score is low. And usually on first-time home buyers, it's not as high, right? It's hard to get an 800 credit score unless you own a house. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of ability for the lender to pay all of your closing costs. So what that conversation would look like would be like, hey, Melissa, this would be an option that I'd recommend to you. I can give you this interest rate and I can pay for $4,000 of your closing costs. Well, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Now that down payment on that type of loan still has to come from you or someone in your family. So it could come from your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your grandpa, your grandma. They can contribute to that down payment without being on the loan. So there's some options there that your loan officer can kind of go over, but that's generally the most common first-time home buyer loan is the FHA loan.
Okay, cool.
Is that good?
And I'm going to throw another one in here that's not on our list, but it'll be okay. You'll get it. So question number 5, how much money do I need to make to buy a house? And likewise, what credit score do I need to buy a house? I think those kind of go hand in hand.
All right, so I'm going to give you kind of a high level general number. In general, if you have kind of normal debt, and that's kind of hard to define, but you have a car payment, you have some student loans, you have some credit card, nothing too high, nothing too low, kind of just you consider it normal. They say that whatever your income is, your annual income, 3 times that is the sales price home you should be able to afford. Now, this isn't work across the whole country, right? Because property taxes in California are much different than in Texas. Same thing in every state is different on that. But here in North Texas, they say that if you make $50,000 a year, times 3, it's about a $150,000 house. So if you have dual income where there's 2 teachers, now you're looking at a $300,000 house. And now, again, that's not concrete. Because if you called me and you said, well, we make $100,000 a year household income, we don't have any car payments, we don't have any credit card payments, we just have a little student debt. Well, now that number goes much higher because the debt to income ratio was lower. It was lower debt for the same income. But on the other side of the coin, if you said, man, we have 5 car payments and I went to become a doctor, and so I have $250,000 of student debt, and now, I'm just, teaching baseball, right? Maybe it's going to be lower. And this is why it's so important you talk to that loan officer, that lender. But in general, about 3 times your income would be the house that they would recommend that you would afford.
Okay. What about credit rating? Like what credit score do you need to approve somebody?
So this is kind of a moving target. So credit scores a year ago were much lower than they are today because of COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
So right now, most lenders will not lend below 640 credit. That may change in the future, and that's kind of for your normal conforming loans. If you want to get a bigger loan, which we call jumbo loan, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 loan, that credit score requirement goes higher. All right. Now, I want to talk really quick about credit score. There's a lot of fear around it because people subscribe to like Credit Karma or credit monitoring on their credit cards. Know that those are monitoring apps. If you read the terms and conditions, they actually are very specific and tell you this is not your credit score. So those are really good applications to help guide and monitor consumer behavior, right? So if you go buy a brand new washer dryer, your credit score, they'll say, hey, your credit score went down. It didn't really go down. What happened was the app realized that your debts went up, and so your score goes down a little bit. But your actual credit score is published 12 times a year. So there's been a lot of times where someone has told me, man, my credit score is 620 on Credit Karma. So, well, let me take a look at it. And I pull it, and it's 690. On the other side of that coin, so I've had people tell me my credit score is 750, and I pulled it, and it's 590. Because there was a collection on there that Credit Karma didn't pick up that we found. So it's really important if your concern is credit, bad news does not get better with time. The sooner you talk to a lender, the better, because they can guide you and give you advice and give you a roadmap on what you need to do. Sometimes because of all the data breaches that people have had, sometimes there's stuff on there that's not even belong to you. So the sooner we can get that removed, the better off as well. Yeah. I've had people that they're like, I don't know what that is. And they called and it was for someone else. So we got that removed and their credit score jumped up. So it's just one of those things that it's kind of a black box. Credit reporting agencies are kind of a black box. We kind of know how they look at things, but the sooner you know, the better.
Awesome. Okay. And my last question, this is my wild card question. So a lot of people, my generation and younger, are doing what's called gig work, or they're 1099 employees, or they've started small businesses. So talk a little bit. I want you to share a little bit about kind of what the requirements are for self-employed people.
The side hustle.
So,
Okay. So I'm going to preface this and say that these regulations change all the time as well. And right now they're stricter than they've ever been because so many self-employed people have been hurt because of COVID shutting things down.
mhm.
So just know that they're really hard right now. So in general, we look at any sort of self-employed income. So self-employed income means you receive a 1099, you get a K1, depending upon how you get the K1, that may mean self-employed. You own a sole proprietorship, so you have a sole proprietorship schedule on your tax return, right? Pretty much any form of income that you receive that's not a W-2. So if you receive a W-2, you are not self-employed because income is received, taxes are taken out, and then you get the rest. If you're self-employed, you get all the money, and then you have to pay taxes. So when we look at self-employed income, we usually look at it over a 2-year tax return history. So if you started it 6 months ago, can't use the side hustle money.
Mhm.
We're probably going to need at least 2 years history. A year ago, we'd say we need 1 year. Right now, we're probably looking at 2 years. If you receive a W-2 income, and then you also have a side hustle, you got a side gig, and you receive that income, that's awesome. You can use that money to buy a house. So let's say you're a photographer and you do weddings, and that provides you $3,000 to $1,000 extra a month of cash that's coming into you. While we probably couldn't use it for your debt to income ratio, we can use it. You can use it for your down payment. So side hustles are great. They're wonderful. They're a great way to raise income, or raise cash, even if they don't help your income. But here's another thing to consider. If you make $1,000 a month and you have $5,000 left on your car note, and your car note's $600 a month, and that's keeping you from buying a house because of debt to income ratio, well, guess what you can do now? Take your side hustle money and get rid of that car note. Now you can buy any house you want. And so when we think of self-employed borrowers, if you are solely self-employed and that's your only source of income, I'm going to be honest, the loan process is going to be tough for you. It's going to be a very intimate financial physical, and it's not the most fun. And it's very challenging. We're going to look at 6 months of bank statements, and we're going to look at everything. The PPE loans that small businesses took, they needed to take them to make it through what we're going through. But that also makes it more challenging because they're currently not yet forgiven.
Mhm.
So just know if you're self-employed and that's your sole form of income, talk to a lender right away. Get a full understanding of your picture and a roadmap. If you had a side hustle where you have W-2 income and supplemental income, you may or may not be able to use it for your income ratio, but that cash, you can use it to buy a house. You can help with your down payment or pay off debt.
Very good. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate all of your knowledge, and we will catch you on video number 3.